Good morning, evening, afternoon, you beautiful bastards. We're gonna talk Lost Ark today. Now, just as a prequel to what I'm about to talk about here, I absolutely love Lost Ark. I've been looking for years for a game that just sticks and everything feels right. Now, Lost Ark, it does have issues. It does. There are certain things in the game I just straight up do not like. The store, not going to get into that. That's 8 billion arguments to have happen. I don't like the store. There's plenty of stuff in it I don't like. And the stop raid button. That button drives me nuts. I hate that it pops up right in the middle of your screen. I, I don't even want to talk about it. That frustrates me. Those are the two things in the game I don't like. That's it. There are a million things I love in Lost Ark. I cannot get enough of the game. I have been playing it nonstop since it came over to NA. And now we're looking at nerfs already. We've barely had the game for any time whatsoever. And as far as some of the nerfs go, it's seeming like it's gonna hit all tier 1 and tier 2 content. Well, not all. I'll put a little list thingy over here of everything that they're adjusting. Let's go with. Now, it's not definitive patch notes yet. At least if there is, I have not found them yet. It's just a list of things that are being adjusted. Now, as far as bosses being adjusted, I do feel that some of the bosses, they could use a little bit of adjustment to HP or something along the lines of that, but it's nothing majorly mechanical. There are some mechanics that happen when you're playing solo that lead to death for no reason because you cannot defend against them as a solo player, and it does allow you to go into these solo, so maybe there should be a check before you go in. If you're solo, it just gets rid of X mechanic and maybe replaces it with something else, like the mechanic where two players get marked, they got to move towards each other to get rid of the mark or they die. That mechanic, I would love to see an adjustment of little arrows underneath the players pointing towards each other. That would be a great indicator for people to understand, move towards each other, get rid of the debuff. That'd be great. The real meat of the nerf that affects me is the Abyssal Dungeon nerfs. The Abyssal Dungeon nerfs give you your upgrades to your sets. They are a weekly challenge for you to do. Those sets are powerhouses. They give you extreme amounts of power in comparison to the blue gear. I say extreme, you look at them and it's like 15% crit rate. That's what I have on my gunslinger currently. Which, doesn't seem that major, but when you look at crit, you hover over your little statistic on your character page and you look at crit, 15% is a pretty large amount of crit. It's huge. It's huge. So they're powerhouses. They should be hard to get. Now, these mechanics in these Abyss raids, I would actually argue they're not extremely difficult. They require you to coordinate as a team. And if there is one thing I have noticed in Lost Ark, it is a marathon, not a sprint. Take your time, enjoy the game, learn the game. That is my advice to literally everyone playing Lost Ark. Anyone that feels like this content is too difficult, anyone that feels like this content is impossible or extremely unrewarding, slow down. Just slow down. You do not need to hit the end of the end game like that. The game's not made that way. It's just not. Yes, there are players that skyrocketed real fast through their item levels, and it's because they know what they're doing. They've been playing this game for years. They're veterans. Now me, I am a new player. I have just started playing this game. Well, when it came to NA, just started playing. Very little prior research. And usually, I'm not going to name any names here, but usually the most complainative people, they'll have no engravings equipped properly in any way, shape, or form. They'll have like 3 negatives and running grudge 1, and it's just like, you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Have you taken any time to look at your character sheet? And the thing is as far as engravings and stuff like that goes, they are confusing mechanics until you sit down and take the time to understand them. And I do feel that the game, it gives a good explanation into pretty much everything. I keep on telling people they need to read everything that comes up. And honestly, as far as reading everything that comes up, most people are going to skip that. But a lot of the stuff in the game is explained within the game. Not all of it. There is some of it that's like, huh. But you take a 2-minute Google search, you ask an area chat, which is going to tell you to do a Google search. They're not absurdly difficult if you just take a little bit of time to understand them. Now, when you go into an Abyss dungeon, what the expectation is you either A, have watched a video and understand the dungeon, or B, you can pick up mechanics fast. If you cannot pick up mechanics fast, that is not a bad thing. That is completely okay. But you really should watch a video of a Abyss dungeon. There's plenty of videos on YouTube that are really short, and they explain the very important mechanics that you need within those Abyss raids, or Abyss dungeons. Now, these nerfs, when I watch a veterans video, they are basically like it's something that could lead to, Abyss raids and stuff like that being nerfed down the road. And for me, my biggest concern is, as someone who is new, we'll go with new, although I've put a chunk of hours in now, but we'll go with new. Me as someone who is new to the game, I have enjoyed pushing through tier 1 content, learning all the tier 1 content that is available that you're pushing through to get to tier 2. When I got to tier 2, which I am still currently in, I just got plus 15 on my gunslinger's weapon and plus 13, 14 on armor. We'll be there. We're getting there. We're working on it. I have pubbed everything up to that point. I have cleared all content up to that point as a new player, and I got to experience all of it as if it was base game content and not just face roll content. And I have loved every bit of it. It has been great. And experiencing all this content completely blind, having no clue as to what I should be doing, and just picking up mechanics on the fly. I have been able to clear all that content in pubs. We've done a couple guild runs, but it was after I learned. The mechanics are not extremely difficult. Imagine someone draws an X on a chalkboard, and they tell you to draw a line facing it. It doesn't matter anywhere around the X, just draw a line facing it. And the way that you draw the line facing it is you make sure that the line is touching the circle, but not in, or touching the X, but not inside the X, okay? That is literally one of the mechanics that is impossible for some people. Now, it's fine to wipe on this a couple times, but to understand to point at an X with a laser beam is not a difficult mechanic. Once you know it, it's extremely easy. And the thing is I have explained this in many pubs, and I'll watch people run away the second that phase starts up. Slow down. Slow down. Pay attention. Learn. There are a few things in Guardian raids that I would change personally, and they're very small. So, in the Abyssal dungeons, you get stagger checks. Those stagger checks have a yellow bar underneath the boss. Couldn't you add those to Guardian raids? Anytime the boss needs to be staggered, because there are plenty of times that when the boss needs to be staggered, it just looks like they're about to do a huge AoE and boom, one-shot everyone. Those stagger checks almost never get met in matchmaking because, I mean, up here, you see boss doing "Rawr!" and there's like big flames and shit like that exploding out of him. You think, man, I should really get away from that. Yellow bar. It exists in the game already. Add it to Abyss raids. Small thing that I would add into that. It's going to sound ridiculous to some people. Letters underneath it that says stagger. People will understand that is a stagger meter. And if they don't understand why that meter is not going down, they will either ask, or they will Google it, or literally anything other than run away. Because that's what happens during stagger checks and Guardian raids. And there's nothing in the game that tells you this mechanic right now in this Guardian raid is a stagger check. Nothing tells you that besides for players spam pinging and then calling you an idiot. That happens a lot. That even when I'm literally point blank with the boss, one dude will run away, next dude will be like, you're an idiot, what's wrong with you, stagger, ping 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 ping, raid stop. Then there's a box in the middle of my screen and I want to die. I love this game. I love so very much about this game. I've been looking for years for a game like this. It checks so many boxes. And honestly, my stream has always been great. I have always enjoyed streaming, and I've always loved the community that I have. But streaming when you have a game that you absolutely love is a totally different experience. Amazon, don't ruin Lost Ark on me. Don't do it. Don't listen to that small vocal minority that is like, I can't complete my Abyss raid. Even though, you know, boss teleports to ball, hits ball, it stuns boss. This mechanic gets explained by a person in your party, and you ignore it. This game brought one of the biggest memes to the stream in a long, long time. I was playing on my Gunlancer, one of my alts, and we were doing the stagger check on the sword boss. If you don't know who the sword boss is, he's one of the Abyss dungeon bosses, and he sends out swords, and you got to pick them up in order and do stagger damage to the boss. Well, our party order was a paladin first. So me as a Gunlancer being number 4, I just, I explained the mechanic because they asked. And I said, I would like to go first because I can break that stagger bar immediately, which is true. The second I picked up my sword, by the time the paladin picked up their sword, boom, the stagger bar was already gone. It was easy peasy. I got told stop flexing. I think he took that as, you're doing no damage, let me damage. But that's not in any way, shape, or form what it was. I was just swapping with the paladin, so the paladin wasn't first on the stagger check. And it made life extremely easy, except for the guy kept on picking up the sword. And we wiped, and we wiped, and we wiped. And he didn't understand. Then he told me to quit flexing, even though I was very calm about this. This was on stream, so if you don't believe me, you could ask anyone who was there. I was real chill about it. I was just explaining I do more stagger damage and I can stagger that bar but pretty much before the paladin picks up his sword if I go first. Anyways, long story short, slow down. And Amazon, don't you dare ruin this game on me. Don't you dare. Please. I'm begging. Honestly. Now, on the nerfs themselves, it's something that worries me for future content. It really does. And for the vets to be saying that they are okay with this content being nerfed, but it worries them about the future, that's understandable. But I also like the game the current way that it is. I really think it is really important to not throw away content. I don't want to queue into an Abyss raid, Abyss dungeon. I keep on calling them Abyss raids, Abyss dungeon, on an alt, and, you know, go to experience the fight on that alt, and then just face roll it. It's no fun. I really enjoy doing these Abyss dungeons, and if you want to face roll through it, it's an MMORPG. Make one friend with a high item level, he'll blast through it for you. Don't ruin my game.